Live from the Shooting from the Lip studio in Louisville, Kentucky, it's the KT Unearthly Show with your hosts, Kevin Hale and Tiffany Mack.
What's up, everyone? Kevin Hale up in this Shooting from the Lip studio on this Friday night, November 18th, 2016. It is the KT Unearthly Show. Joining me tonight and every Friday night, guys, I am the lucky one when it comes to Friday nights. Tiffany Mack. Tiffany, what's up?
Hey. Yeah, you are a lucky guy, aren't you? You get to have me every Friday night, and my husband has to wait till midnight. It's so sad.
He gets, there's without sounding too, keeping it maybe PG-13, he, let's just say I get first dibs for Friday.
Only from afar.
For 2 hours. Yeah, from afar.
Yeah, from afar. And tonight is going to be a really cool show, though, that he might get a little bit more than he asked for tonight.
Yeah, this is the night where our guest, Jason Miller, who will be on in a little bit, writer, teacher, and the magic man, he's going to come on and basically he's going to wet our whistles. If the conversation tonight goes as planned, Tiffany, Chris will reap the rewards of tonight from your end, and from my end, I don't know. I'll have
lucky girl
put on
Tinder.
My Tinder game, or I have to go after a hang up. I have to go to a local bar, listen to some music.
Local watering hole.
I'm excited on several levels about tonight's show.
Well, I tried to lock this guy down for a few months, so he better deliver.
Yeah, it was let me guess it. He's probably in those 2 months or so, he was pleasuring others, during that time. So let's,
we hope so.
We hope so. Yeah. I judging by what I've read, I've checked him out on his Facebook, his personality. I think he's going to fit right in with us tonight, Tiffany, the way we roll. So.
Oh yeah, I agree. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah. Yeah, Jason, he's listening, and we do the first little tidbit of our show, we do our tongue-in-cheek, instead of the KT, we do a TK foreplay, where I'll throw a topic at you, and I've actually got a couple topics, and you actually haven't seen them, so that'll be cool that I'll be able to throw them out to you and just get your real-time opinions. But yeah, Jason, we'll get you a drink first. Well, we'll get him a drink first before we go into foreplay. But I think Jason doesn't realize he's going to have as much fun tonight as you and I will. He just doesn't know this, but he's going to. Oh, when is it not a fun night, Tiffany? Really?
Typically, it always is. So I really can't say anything against it. There's only been one show that really freaked us both out. So beyond that, we've been pretty good.
You're right. Some social media plugs for us. You can subscribe to our shows on iTunes and YouTube. We're on Twitter at The Shooting Lip, at Kevin Hale 423, at Tiffany Mack _ET, which Tiffany, blow the dust off your Twitter and get on there and retweet our shows and all that good stuff. You can like us, follow us on Facebook and Instagram, Shooting from the Lip and the KT Unearthly Show. Live tonight via Blog Talk Radio. Again, in a few minutes, we'll be bringing on our guest, Jason Miller, writer, teacher, and into magic. He's going to he's going to bring it.
Hopefully,
tonight.
He's going to give us some super sexy spells. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, he's going to actually, if he pulls this off for me, I'm right. All right. Some TK foreplay. Here's a topic to throw at you, Tiffany. You're familiar with the genius, if you will, Stephen Hawking?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. There was an article, actually it was today. Stephen Hawking says we have 1,000 years left on Earth. That's his prediction. Mm-hmm. His quote, "I do not think we will survive another 1,000 years without escaping beyond our fragile planet." This was a lecture at Oxford. although the chance of disaster to the planet in a given year may be quite low, it adds up over time, which to me makes sense, and becomes near certainty in the next 1,000, and then he goes on and say, or 10,000 years. By the time we should have spread out into space and to other stars, so a disaster on Earth would not mean the end of human race. Within 1,000 years, we may have colonies on Mars, or whatever other planet. Long story short, where do you see us in 1,000 years? Where do you see the world in that amount of time? Because it's safe to say we'll be long gone, but what about us?
Well, I think 1,000 years sounds very far away in one regard, but if you think of it in terms of a human lifetime, so that's only maybe roughly 10, 12 human lifetimes.
That's a good way to put it. It actually turns out about 15 years.
It doesn't sound like it's very far. Right. So I'm not really sure how long an actual generation is, and it probably depends on your culture and how quickly and early people typically reproduce. But, it doesn't sound like it's that far away. And, as overpopulated as we are now, I can understand the concern for being able to obviously feed people and clothe people and get enough water for people, fresh water for people, and living in our own refuse, potentially, because we can't get rid of our garbage appropriately. I don't know. That doesn't sound so outlandish to me, but sounds like a long time. But when you break it down that way, maybe not so long.
That's a good point, because if you think about it, 1,000 years equates to, see, I've got 2 grandsons, and you don't have any grandchildren yet. You've got a long way to go. You got a little ways to go before you get to that type of conversation. But you're talking, really 12 to 15 great grandchildren times 12. Yeah. So when you put it in that perspective, it doesn't seem so far. However, with this new president, and as tricky or trigger finger as he may be, I wonder if we go 1,000 years. I wonder if we see the end of the world.
So now you're breaking it down to Trump killing us off.
Well, not Trump partaking in the end of the world, where someone, and it could be someone messes with us, the U.S., and President Trump in this case says, "Oh yeah, well, hand me the codes, buddy," and I'm just gonna put it into that, and all that does is just trigger an event, because the notion is that if you go to that extreme, the mindset has to be, well, my enemy or the ally of my enemy will take it to that extreme as well. So anyways, we're getting deep.
Well,
but,
yes, the potential is there because people are crazy, and I'm not saying that he is a really good decision maker. I think that time will tell. We all know that he's a firecracker, but when it comes down to it, gosh, if you go in and we start talking about this, we're going to get into the ET subject, because I really don't feel that, I don't feel like they would let us blow ourselves up, because essentially we're a good, healthy planet overall. And I think that would just be stupid to let us annihilate each other. Of course, maybe that's the plan. I don't know.
Maybe that's the plan.
I don't know. I'm not really that worried about it happening tomorrow.
Yeah.
But yes, I think
I'm not trying, because trust me, I look forward to Thanksgiving every year, because that's some really good food. So the notion of
not because of Columbus coming over and wiping out the natives. It's because turkey is good. Yes.
Because my mama fix it. It's a feast. So I don't know. Speaking of Thanksgiving.
Does your mama cook turkey?
She does cook. She does cook the typical Thanksgiving dinner, turkey and all those. Yeah, but she, being from Thailand, we get to eat some Thai dish on Thanksgiving as well. So, yeah. So it's like for my kids, they go spend Thanksgiving with their mom's side of the family during the early part of the day, and they eat, as they put it, they eat all of the normal. Or actually, my youngest says, we eat white people Thanksgiving during the day, and then we eat Asian food at night. So for them, it's the best of both worlds. So,
That's
but
awesome.
check us out. Thursday is Thanksgiving, and you and I will talk before then. And I wish you, and this is Tiffany. This will be our first Thanksgiving together. From a show couple perspective.
Yeah.
And yeah, so. But yeah, I have to share this.
Not our first holiday, just our first Thanksgiving.
Not exactly, and I'm very thankful for you because we've, no, I am. We do a great Friday night show, and come 2017, we're going to, the plan is to take our show to another level because. Like tonight and every other show we do, quality guests, quality topics. All right, but all right, that's the show. But one more before we bring our guest on. In the spirit of Thanksgiving, this is the other TK foreplay topic. Did you hear about the grandma who sent a text out to her family, her grandkids and family? And one of the numbers that she texted was wrong. So the topic is grandma accidentally texts wrong teen about Thanksgiving dinner. This is a white grandmother. Her name's Wanda, was texting her family, inviting everyone to Thanksgiving, dinner. She accidentally typed the wrong number and invited a 17-year-old black male, Jamal, a stranger, to dinner. And Jamal, not knowing who the text was from, responds with, "Who is this?" And Wanda, the grandmother, responds with, "Your grandmother." And Jamal says, "Grandmother? ? Can I have a picture?" in the grandmother. And Wanda says, "Of who?" And Jamal goes, "You, LOL." So Wanda sends a picture. She goes, "Yes, here I am at work." Well, he sends a picture of himself, black. I gotta send you this link. It's the funniest story, but it's true. And he goes, "You're not my grandma," smiley face, blah, 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 blah. And then he follows it up with the smartest question after the fact. "Can I still get a plate though?" And then
cute.
her response, classic, "Of course you can. That's what grandmas do, feed everyone." Well, from that point on, they go on and they talk. Jamal's family is going to that Thanksgiving dinner. And check, tweet has gone viral. It's been retweeted over 200,000 times, nearly 400,000 likes. So in the spirit of Thanksgiving, in the spirit of being thankful, in the spirit of, thanking your lucky stars for everything that you fucking have in your life, whether it's, family, friends, even some certain material things. Be thankful and, be a little nice. Show some appreciation for the world we live in, for the people that we interact with on a daily basis. Just be nice. Be nice to people. At the end of the day, that's all we want is just, friendly correspondence and interaction. So, that kind of a story, it's a feel-good story, of course, but that's, at the end of the day, we should be looking out for each other. And if we all did that just a tad bit more, the bullshit that a lot of us, the world goes through, wouldn't be, so there's my soapbox moment.
Cheers.
Anyways, cheers to that. All right. Without further ado, I'm turning on his mic. I think Jason's had enough foreplay, so he is live with Kevin and Tiffany. Jason, what's up, player?
Hey guys, how's it going? You got me all warmed up with the
How are you?
Oh yeah,
I'm
He's
good.
warmed.
Absolutely.
He's warmed up.
Okay, get a
Well,
little
Tiffany,
closer. Get a little closer
Yeah.
to your mic for me, Jason, please.
Okay. How's that?
Much better.
perfect.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah,
So
he was just giving.
we
He
wanted
was
to-
just giving us. He was just giving us the tip. Now we got the whole Jason. So Jason, yeah, introduce Jason. Introduce Jason for us.
So okay. So first of all, our guest tonight has been on my list for a while, and it took me quite a while for me to get a hold of him. And the book is called Sex, Sorcery, and the Spirit. And so, of course, every person wants to talk about sex at some point. And the idea of mixing sex, sorcery, and the paranormal, the supernatural, or the soul is amazing. It's a great topic. And I figured that we would try to break our audience in and get them a little bit loosened up. So the sexual act is possibly the most potent and pleasurable gateway to the primordial and the divine. From the tantric mysteries of Hinduism and Buddhism and the inner alchemy of Taoism to the sacrament of the bridal chamber in Christianity, and of course the traditions of Western magic and witchcraft, sex pervades the highest and most secret teachings all over the world. So Jason, let's discuss a little bit about your path to producing such a topic book. Can you tell us what got you interested in this?
Sure. Well, I have a lifelong interest in magic and the occult, and of course, you know, I like a lot of people, I have a lifelong interest in sex as well. And one of my major influences, major areas of study was in Tibetan Buddhism. I lived for a time in Nepal, in between India and Tibet. And there are practices that are both sexual and involving actual sex that are designed to bring enlightenment, bring power, bring wisdom, bring Buddha nature. And so combining these with a lot of the teachings in the West, where sex is thought of as a type of alchemy, it was just natural for me to bring these together in a book and contribute to this topic.
Okay. So when we think about erotic alchemy or sex magic, can you give me a real definition of sex magic? Because I mean, everybody knows that orgasm creates like a really nice, warm, fuzzy feeling, and everything in the world is right after that. You could be fighting with your spouse, you could be fighting with your boyfriend or your girlfriend or whatever, and then all of a sudden you look at each other and you get those eyes, and you know what's going to happen. You get that, right. You get that look, and you're done. So is there some kind of magic that's already within us without even knowing what we're doing? Do we have some form of sexual magic?
Oh, absolutely. You know, this is why one of my teachers used to say that enlightenment is not very far off. You can be a monk and practice for lifetimes, cultivating good qualities and learning these certain ways to pray and things, or you can have one primordial experience that will open up the window into that. And what is more primordial than the orgasm? What is more ego-shattering than the orgasm? This is why famously the French call it le petit mort, the little death. It's like the reset button, exactly what you said. You know, you can be engaged in all these different things and feeling all these different things. And, you know, one primordial ego-shaking, ego-shattering orgasm will just explode it all away. So what erotic alchemy does, and what sex magic does, is it tries to take this moment and expand it, make it deeper, make it more blissful, more mystical, use it as a window, extend it time-wise, so that there's actually, a bigger window going on, and then use the energy created by it for certain types of magic and sorcery and practical application. So it's a big topic, but it exists all over the world. I mean, practices like this are common everywhere. So it's something that is not as revolutionary as it seems. It's just that in prior years and prior times, it was very racy to talk about. Obviously you couldn't talk about things like this very openly even 100 years ago. People would be shocked, and you might have even charges for indecency brought against you. But we live in the age of internet porn and 2 girls, 1 cup. So there's nothing really shocking about sex magic or any of the things written about in the book.
And you bring it up, where sex is it's still taboo to a degree, and different levels of sex when it comes to more than 2 people, how open-minded people are with today's game or thing, and how from right now, Jason, when you write about what you do, but you compare it to the world as we know it now, how more open-minded have we become to sex itself and everything that can be associated with it?
Oh goodness, I mean, I think enormously open-minded. Don't get me wrong. You have your pockets of closed-mindedness. You have your pockets of people trying to live in the Victorian era. But the hottest selling book of the last 5 years was a trilogy based on S&M. You have people meeting openly in club, people displaying, stickers on their car talking about what kind of sex they're into. You have shows on Showtime now where that kind of thing is becoming the norm. LGBT people are out and proud and now having equal rights, and I mean there are things that I think might have been considered really revolutionary 100 years ago that are now just dinner table conversation for average middle class people, that are just not shocking anymore. So to use sex in terms of getting to know God or to meditate with might be shocking for some people, but it's certainly not really, really heavy. And people have threesomes and stuff like that all the time, and talk about it in college. I think it's not to say there's not areas that people get a little uncomfortable with. There's dynamics where multiple, one person has multiple wives or something like that, where people get a little dicey over the dynamic of family and things like that. But those almost have more to do with family dynamics than sex. And
right.
For the record, I'm a pretty boring married, monogamous, happily married dude. So I don't want to paint a picture of myself as this very libertine kind of guy, but I am in the if you like it and everyone is safe and sane and consensual, then it's all good camp. So
Tiffany, I made a note. There was two things I would like to get out of tonight. One, I'd like to think my sex game is pretty solid.
That's what I want to believe.
Okay, I'll give you that. It is. However, I am open-minded for improvements, and I am taking everything we have in conversation in, especially if it takes me to another level or 2 or 3. I'm good with that. And the second thing is that I want Jason to help me or help my mind, take me to where, because I'm 49, I will be 50 next year. And one of the things I dread is that, put it this way, I want Jason to be able to tell me things tonight where mentally I can go to and take myself to the point where I don't need to rely on that blue pill. So, yeah. Jason, you're on tonight.
Here's part of that topic. Part of that, I think, goes along with one of his chapters called Flying Solo. Can you tell us a little bit about how
good segue.
perfecting your own skills can help in the process?
You know what? Check this out, Tiffany. Hold on, Jay. Hold on, Jay. Hold on, Jason.
Sex game, and Tiffany segues it into a chapter on masturbation.
Exactly. See, he's feeling me. Nice.
Tone down your expectations a little bit.
That was so good, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, check, Jason. Now you see what I'm dealing with every Friday night. But here, check this out. This is what is what also entertains me, and I probably shouldn't say this when I'm going to, Tiffany, because of said topic. Mm-hmm. But Tiffany, I adore Jason. I adore Tiffany. Tiffany is, to me, I couldn't ask for a better co-host on Friday nights with paranormal and stuff. For a guy that's single and gets to listen to someone who looks like Tiffany talk about the things that we're going to talk about tonight. Yeah, I'm winning on several levels tonight. So Tiffany, I'm taking it all in
right now. You might be winning right now, but when my husband finds out conversation tonight, he is going to be like, "What were you doing?" He's going to ask us.
Yeah, okay. But you know what? You're going to make him forget. You're going to make him forget for the next 2 hours. You're going to make him forget about the previous 2 hours. All right. Yeah. Go ahead.
Throw it in the spank bank, Kevin.
There you go. Yes.
Spank bank. All right, Jason. This is your show tonight. So go ahead.
That's how you fend off the blue pills. You throw memories and moments like that into the spank bank.
I love it. All right. So Tiffany, you point out the flying solo part. Go ahead, Jason.
All right. So obviously the book covers all kinds of different scenarios, but we start off with basic breaths and muscle locks and things like that would help improve your game, as far as being able to withhold fluid during orgasm, being able to possibly have multiple orgasms and so on. So sometimes it's actually those early chapters that will do the most for you as far as making your or upgrading your performance, if you will. Can
you describe, Jason? Can you describe as sort of part of the breathing that you need to start to regulate that, and why you need to think about your breathing beforehand?
Sure. So, in the book, I talk about vase breathing, which is basically taking a deep breath with the lower chambers of the lungs, letting the belly extend a little bit to accommodate that, and getting really used to that not full, you don't want to inflate your lungs to full capacity, but breathing with that lower chamber of the lungs really helps pump what in yogic terms you might think of as prana in the central channel if you do yoga. So then you add locks in. The main one would be lifting the pelvic floor. Women know them as Kegel exercises, of course, but men can do them where you're clenching that perineum and lifting the pelvic floor. It builds up a lot of muscle stamina and helps you control not just your orgasm and when you have one, but also your mind and what is going on in the mind at the moment of sex. So a lot of this is preliminary work because, once you're actually in flagrante with somebody is not the time to worry about learning to breathe right and getting all this right. So it all kind of has, that's why I say, you have to focus on mastering these preliminaries ahead of time. So yeah, I mean, there are other breaths and locks that build upon those to increase inner power, to increase prana and so on. But those would be the two. And then, of course, that lower lock will actually help men retain fluid, which, according to some Chinese thinking, the release of fluid causes degeneration and aging and fatigue and so on. So, one of the criticisms of sex magic literature over the years has been that a lot of it is written for men. And I've pointed out that, while, of course, patriarchy and so on does have something to do with this, a little bit of it has to do with the fact that men sometimes need to get caught up on not falling asleep 10 minutes after things starting. So, moving then into the sex magic, into the flying solo chapter that you mentioned, I talk about, obviously, flying solo alluding to masturbation, but then how to train the mind to experience the orgasm as a mystical state, and then also to concentrate on certain goals and things you wish to achieve during that. There are some famous examples of this involving people making sigils or symbols to encapsulate their desire, and then empowering that through the moment of orgasm.
I actually just did that today when it came to a fertility little thing that I gave to my. No, listen, I'm not finished. Yes, okay. I did that today. I used what he said, and I did it today, and I instilled that magic into a little bitty baby doll that was like a fertility doll that my mom gave me when I was getting pregnant and trying to get pregnant. And I swear, I think it's going to work. I'm giving it to somebody special, and I think it's going to work. So I'm using mind over matter too. Does that work?
Awesome. Right on. Yeah, that's how it's done.
Is that the process? Because this is important. I mean, I think that people need to go back to our roots and start thinking about things in a more spiritual way than just going through the motions and you tell it, like, explain how we need to be in control of not only our bodily fluids, but our emotions and our spirituality, and they all need to work together. And isn't that what you're pretty much promoting in this?
Yeah, it is. It is. Now, first of all, I'll say that, at some point I'll say to do operations with sex magic, in other words, to perform spells with sex, to meditate using sex, then obviously you need to have enough mental control where you can still enjoy sex. You don't want to, you don't want to kill your boner thinking about the Buddha or something.
Oh
but
my
at
God!
the same time,
there's your soundbite, Kevin.
No,
But at the same time,
I wrote it. I just wrote the timing of this soundbite. You don't trust me. I got it.
But at the same time, you don't want to lose yourself into it. Now, that's not to say that that's a prescription for how everyone should have sex. So I always want to be careful there. I'm not telling people how to have sex generally, telling people how to do magic and alchemy and meditation with sex. So, when people are like, well, I don't do all this stuff when I have sex and I feel like it's okay. Well, yeah, of course it's okay. You can, have sex and do and think about whatever you like, as long as it's not hurting anybody and everyone's agreed, then, have at it. But yeah, it's absolutely a matter of mind over matter. In this case, your own matter, your lower matter. And it's a really powerful thing, because we tend to think of spirituality as something that happens up in the head, and we talk about spiritual people like they should just be dead from the neck down. Like, oh, but if he's really spiritual, wouldn't he be beyond all that? Wouldn't he be beyond sex and worldly concerns and things like that? But that's bull-dinky. Of course not. These things have to be brought on the path. These things have to be part of a healthy spiritual life, a healthy pursuit. So that is it's absolutely key to integrate these things, in my opinion. And then, of course, you can get into the area of the paranormal. You guys specialize in that. So there are areas where, sex magic kind of branches into the paranormal. So where people claim to have sex with spirits and so on. And
Nice segue. For the paranormal people, we probably need to turn this from 50 Shades of KT to some paranormal discussion.
So when God's get it on.
Yeah, so tell us.
Get it on.
When God's get it on. I was really, really tempted to call that chapter When Gods Get It On. I was really tempted to call it Inappropriately Touched by an Angel.
I like that.
So
I do.
There are, just throughout history and all over the world, there are stories of men and women who end up having sex with angels, demons, gods, spirits, and so on. So,
and aliens.
And I suppose aliens. So there's examples of spectrophilia, it's called, attraction to ghosts, and so you have. I give examples of succubi and incubuses in Christian demonology, which just means laying above or below. The succubus lays below, the incubus lays above. But also examples in Zanzibar and all over the place. But not always these. Not always demonic. In certain cases, there are examples of angels having sex with humans. Of course, the Bible in Genesis 6 refers to angels that come down and have sex with humans. But in Philadelphia at the early 20th century, you had Ida Craddock, who claimed an ongoing sexual relationship with an angel. And then moving in the more modern era, you have some folks in Iceland. The belief in elves is really quite famous in Iceland. It gets some even mainstream media coverage where businesses hire shaman to kind of make peace with the elves before they build a building. And so there's a woman over there who describes herself as a an elf nerd who has written a sort of Joy of Sex, but for human elf sex, where she describes various positions that you can take with elves. It's called Please Yourself, Sex with Icelandic Invisibles. So, learning to love your elf.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right.
And of course,
Tiffany,
as you pointed out, when you have sex, you're bonding with someone, right? You're
was that what you call it?
Well, not bonding, not bondage. So
Okay.
you're bonding with someone. I mean, you're interfacing with them both energetically and chemically, and there's a lot of DNA swapping going on a little bit, and so when you take this then into a level where we're talking about a spirit, if this is kind of, to be believed, or a non-human entity, then this is a deep level of communication, whether it's a case of, violation in terms of unwanted demonic encounters, or if it's something that's sort of like a holy practice to be cultivated, which is what Ida Craddock's whole gig was about. She would write for people to be able to contact and enter this relationship as a type of sacrament. So there you go.
Tiffany, at this point, humor me. Just say my name.
No, it's not going to happen.
I'm wondering, where's your mother at tonight? She calls in every show. Why didn't she call in this show? She'll call in and listen.
I guess, I told her that I didn't want her coming on. You can't listen. You can't listen to this show, Mom. Bad.
Mommy, you can't tonight.
Yeah, I know.
The 4 hours thing, I was kidding, Jason. I'm joking. I know. You trust me. I don't think I can. Never mind. All right. Okay.
This is the kind of stuff that gets Sting to his alleged 8 hours.
Mm-hmm.
You're right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And what's crazy is what's cool is that Jason gets to write about this stuff, and and publishes this kind of information, and make some money off this stuff, and so.
Well,
but I'm curious. Tiffany, is this the first show, internet show we do, and podcast after we download it or upload it that we could charge by the minute? I think we could.
Well, you'd have to get a little bit raunchier than what we're going.
It's only 10:48. Trust me. With it is. As we get closer to midnight. Go ahead, Tim. Continue.
Okay, so let's move on and tell us how to invoke. What does that mean, and what does it require?
Okay, so an invocation is very simply the calling of a spiritual power. So when you go to church, you're hearing invocations. You're hearing invocations to God, to the angels, to the Holy Spirit, to be present, and so on. In magical terms, of course, we're talking more about the spirit manifesting in a way that there's communication, not just one way, but that we hear something back. So that's the big difference between invocation in magic and invocation in simple religion. Not to say that religion is simple or that people are simple for doing it. I'm just, as far as invocation goes, it's simpler if you're not doing it in order to get a response that you hear, see, feel, or receive something back from. But in magic we are. But it's still basically a calling. So it can be accomplished on a number of levels. One of them is a spoken invocation where you're extolling the virtues of the spirit or deity, and then asking it to come forward, and then maybe even identifying yourself with it if the idea is to draw it into you. And then you might also be doing other things like visualizing your astral shape in the shape of that entity. You might be doing some energetic work or yogic work or meditation work that is done to set your own ego and your own sense of self aside, kind of make a little room for that power to come in and bond with it. And then, of course, within the context of sex magic, I write about all kinds of magic, obviously. This is my 4th book. But within the context of sex magic, you are then engaging in sex as, with you're either doing it to honor this being, so it's sort of dedicated, like, hey, we're gonna get down, we're gonna get busy, and dedicate. This one goes out to Hecate, if that's how you want to do it, or you are, so you can dedicate it. You can theoretically do it with the blessing or contact open to those powers, so that there's an idea that they are partaking in the rite somehow through you. You're filled with the Holy Spirit, so to speak, or that you are going for something more along the lines of possession or inhabitation, where a spirit is actually, sharing consciousness with you, and you're during the sexual act. And then, of course, if 2 people are doing this in a sexual act, it's a very potent exchange, to say the least.
So
in Tantra, for instance, I was like, go ahead.
Well, that's what I was going to bring into it. Like, the idea of tantric sex is one of the things that I heard about when I was in college. And of course, David Bowie was all about it, right? This was who I heard it from. And I found it very interesting because it just sounded like the epitome of peak pleasure. This is how you do it. And I remember thinking, wow, that can't be that hard, can it? Can it?
It's not. It's not as there are certainly different levels of how hard you want to make it. So on the one hand, a lot of what gets talked about as tantric sex, in weekend seminars and things like this, has absolutely nothing to do with Tantra as far as it's known in India and Tibet and within Hinduism and Buddhism. It's really just sex where you take some of the techniques from the Tantras to extend orgasm and whatnot, and they call it tantric sex, but it really has very little to do with Tantra. For instance, if there's no guru, if there's no abhisheka, there is no Tantra in either Hinduism or Buddhism. And it is entirely possible to practice Tantra and never have sex enter into it, because Tantra, literally the word means thread. So it has to do with the thread of esoteric teachings. It's bound up in a lot of things. It's bound up in magic. It's bound up in offerings. It's bound up in visualization practices, where you identify with these various deities through invocation, like we just talked about, that have certain qualities. And these are where the Buddhas that have the 12 arms and fangs and scary looking wings and stuff come into it. So there's this element of sex to Tantra, but there's this element of death too. There's what can be called a thanatoerotic, a sex and death imagery. And actual sex between people may or may not come into it. So, in the case of Bowie, I'm sure he's talking about tantric sex, and some of the techniques of this. And yeah, it is a pleasure enhancer, if you will, or it gives you the ability to give different types of orgasms, for instance. So, I can really only speak for men, but there's a way to hold back the fluid and have an orgasm that is a little like plugging your brain right into your Johnson. And it's that union of higher and lower selves that gives this sort of full body orgasm without the release of fluid. They talk about it in yoga as a reversal of the prana, so that everything is flowing upwards. And it's quite gets referred to in the tantras as mahasukha, great pleasure, great bliss. So yeah, it's potent, and it can be done by practicing breath. It can be done. Men especially have to learn exercises to be able to withhold fluid. People that are like super crazy hardcore in the East will actually learn to withdraw fluid from the outside. So for instance, in medical colleges in India, they'll have yogis come in and they'll show how they can actually draw fluid into the tip of their penis through the use of their muscles and breath and so on. Now, I can't do anything like that, but I've seen it done. So
he can't, Jason. I can't do anything like that.
That's a little bit beyond me. It's a little bit beyond what I've ever wanted to do. But I've never strived for that. But there are hardcore yogis that spend hours a day during this kind of practice that allows them to do that. So depending, how hard is it? Depends on what level you want to go to.
All right. So Jason, it's safe to say your book, your latest book, Sex, Sorcery and Spirit: The Secrets of Erotic Magic, which is available on Amazon and probably other fine retail bookstores.
Everywhere. Yeah.
Is it
CNN?
Yeah.
Everybody has it.
Yeah. We'll definitely, before we get off here, we'll promote every outlet for you. But is it safe to say that with your book, every topic, or I'm looking at all the chapters, you're writing, you've not per se experienced or practiced personally these topics or techniques, as you mentioned in your chapters. Is that right?
Most of them I have.
You have. Okay, you have. Okay.
Yeah, most of them I have. And when I haven't, I specify.
Go ahead. And what you haven't is what?
I just said if I haven't done something, if I haven't experimented with it, I will make a note of that to say, okay, I haven't done this, but the traditional teaching is, X. Now,
you know what? For the spirit of the show, I'm gonna go here, and and granted, it's probably safe to say my kids are not listening to this show, which probably be the only ones that I would, have any.
Don't even say
hesitate.
Don't go there. Don't do it.
No, I want to.
Already. It's the.
No. I want to. This is a different view. Now, Jason.
Okay, go on.
I'm a voyeur, so everything you're reading is visual to me in words and in real life. I'm a visual type of guy, and I can sit back and visualize it, watch it, and that's the turn on, that's the buzz. How do you respond or correspond with someone who is a voyeur from what you're writing or teaching?
I'm not sure of the question. Can you rephrase it? Like, what do you mean by
it's like the way your book, the way you're writing it, it sounds as if as I'm going through it, it's for people who are you can physically you're physically engaging yourself in all of these are more physical types of conversation. So with someone, not that I'm not physical, but I have a voyeur perspective. I'm a visual kind of guy. So from a visual standpoint, how would you sell me your book how would you sell your book or your information to a voyeur?
Okay. All right. So, in going back to, for instance, Tantra, although Tantra was never meant to be practiced by monks, in Tibet, it actually is practiced by monks who have vows not to have physical sex.
That's a good angle. I like it. Okay, good.
So they will actually do practices where they are visualizing themselves with a consort, right? And the text will even say, with a physical or visualized consort. So, this is a case where somebody who is not interested in a physical partner might be visualizing, themselves having sex or performing these things, might be moving energy in the body in a similar way. So, for instance, they're moving, they're saying a mantra and they're visualizing it coming out their mouth, into the mouth of their partner, down through their partner's central channel, out their privates into their own, and circulating this back and forth. But you're visualizing yourself doing it with a deity rather than with a physical partner taking that role. So this is one aspect of it. There are other energetic exercises in there. And then, of course, there is that chapter on flying solo, where I talk about how to use the orgasm itself as an open window into the mystical state. And, of course, it doesn't matter how you get to that orgasm. It's the orgasm itself that's important. So whether it's with a partner or by yourself, doing whatever watching you want to do, or going into creating sigils or spells that are empowered through the sexual act by empowering it, dedicating that orgasm to that purpose, and then even, anointing things with sexual fluids and so on, which has been done in the past. So these are all things for people that don't have a physical partner. Yes.
Let's pause right there at the anointing of physical items with the juices, correct?
Good segue.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, I've heard that when you think good thoughts or you think bad thoughts, that everything in your being, all of your liquids, your saliva, and everything gets infused with this energy, either positive or negative, and it resonates at a different level. Is this the type of energy that you're describing?
I suppose you could say that, yeah. I would say more targeted than that. I think when people get too into the idea of, how their thoughts might affect things, sometimes people can start worrying, I thought bad thoughts, so bad things are going to happen, or, I thought nothing but good thoughts, why didn't, $1 million fall into my lap, a la The Secret or something? And so I worry about people having notions like that. But for the most part, yeah, it's concentrated thought and power put into the magic, and then using the sexual fluids, which are carrying that as an anointing oil or a physical representation of that. And this, too, is something that, the consumption of these as sacrament happens all over India, all over China. There's some evidence for it in some Western cultures as well. So it's certainly part of, say, Aleister Crowley's occultism, where it's very important. So, these things, the alchemical elixir of life, some people believe is constructed out of the sexual fluid. So
while we're there,
it's the state of mind that you're in when they're accumulated, not just thinking good thoughts, but are you in a heightened state? Are you in a mystical state? Are you filled with deity? Are you filled with the Holy Spirit in Christian terms? Is your ego in control, or is your Buddha mind in control? These are things that impact the success of that.
Kevin, did you just hear that?
I heard it was like
a demonic voice.
Yeah, we're all going to hell. It basically is.
Oh my God, that was so creepy. Oh, that was creepy.
Yeah, actually, yeah, Jason, your voice, it was like your voice went into full devil mode.
Demonic mode.
Yeah, actually, it's great for our show. It was another great soundbite because.
Oh my God, that was weird. Yeah. Okay, so while we're on that topic, let's talk about the white drops versus the red drops versus the elixir. Can you describe those and explain their significance in sex magic?
Sure. So, I mean, the gist of it is that the white drops and the red drops are said to be inherited from the mother and father, or in this case, the father and mother, respectively. So the white drop is inherited from the father, the red drop from the mother. These are references to the sexual fluids, or in the case of the red drop, the menstrual fluid that I think people used to confuse with sexual fluids, which it's in the research for the book. As I started to delve into biology, I was ashamed to find out that women's sexuality is still so understudied that no one is sure, even in science, what female sexual fluids are made out of. So this is still a topic for research, which was just hit me upside the head that it's 2016 and we have paid so little attention to it that there's still arguments over what exactly female sexual fluids are. But anyway, I digress. So the drops can be united and blended into one another through yogic practices like inner heat and sex magic, so that you experience this state of bliss and emptiness that is like Buddha mind, or the mind, the mind of enlightenment.
Wow. On again several levels. You mentioned, Jason, you're married. I'm curious, real quick, how does the wife share your mindset when it comes to?
That is something I don't comment on in interviews.
You don't? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Fair enough. That sounds like some of Hillary's buddies at a Congress hearing. She'll plead the fifth, or so.
No,
it's all
there's
good.
No pleading the fifth. It's just
Okay. It's good.
I'm a private individual, so
I totally respect that. Totally. Tiffany,
we have a listener, Russ, who would like to join the show. Do you want to turn his mic on and give him a
let me preface
approved questions?
But hold on, Jason. Russ, I'm turning his mic on. Russ is my co-host on Monday nights, where, the reality, Tiffany, is that this conversation might have been more appropriate for our Monday night show, because in Monday night, Jason, we talk about any and everything. Friday nights with Tiffany, it's a paranormal theme, but
right,
we've not dug so deep into the paranormal thing, and Russ called in and got to hear the white drops. And Russ, are you engaged right now?
Engaged? Yeah, we've been engaged for like 2 or 3 years. I think we're just going to be perpetually engaged, not married. That's the plan.
Okay. All right. So play along, Russ. Russ, you profess to be a sexpert. Yes.
I don't think I've ever professed that. I mean, you may have just gathered that by watching me. I don't know.
Oh.
Oh.
Happy
Good
Friday,
Lord.
everybody.
Yeah. Now, Russ, Jason Miller, our guest tonight, he is a writer, teacher. His book, Sex, Sorcery, Spirits. It's very erotic. It's, Jason tonight has covered all of the sexual food groups, if you will. We've talked about flying solo, the sorcery of celibacy and masturbation, the elixir of life, which is the sorcery of sexual fluids, a different kind of spell binding. I don't think did we get into that? Different kind of spell binding, BDSM and sex. Let's go into that. I don't think we really have. Different kind of spell binding, Jason. You share that, and then Russ can chime in later. But the BDSM sex sorcery, tell us about that.
Well, obviously, first of all, huge topic. I mean, it's always a huge topic. It's a much more widespread fetish than I think people ever realized. But that came to the front and center of Western consciousness a couple of years ago with the 50 Shades series taking off and becoming so popular as it did. It was even freaking me out that I'm in Target and looking at end caps of erotic books about bondage and discipline. So, but in terms of sex, sorcery, and spirit, there's a number of different levels that it can be integrated in. So, for instance, sensory deprivation is always been related to different kinds of spiritual practice. You're turning off the outside so that you may see with the inner eyes and so on. And so obviously sensory deprivation is or can be part of BDSM play, where people are bound and blindfolded or have their senses turned off in different ways. And so when integrating this into sex play, it's kind of a no-brainer that this can be brought into it. There are also states, Crowley, for instance, called it erotocomatose lucidity, where people are brought continually to the edge of orgasm over and over and over again until they enter this state of lucidity where they begin to see spirits and have mystical experiences of a different type. And this is part of BDSM play edging, where you're constantly bringing someone to this edge. As the old 1970s copy of The Joy of Sex used to say, this is a lot easier to do if someone is tied up and they can't just reach down and finish themselves off. So then altered states brought on by whipping and scourging. This is, been a part of modern Wicca and witchcraft since its inception in the 20th century. Other things like breath play bring on altered states. So what we're looking at really is mostly having to do with altered states, bringing out more intense states of mind. Different people have talked about subspace, the mind space that a submissive might get into when they are being worked on by a dominant, or they're in a scene with a dominant. Some people have related this, and some submissives have written about this, with a lot of similarity to the way some nuns have written about experiences, mystical experiences that they've had. So there's a deep spiritual level to this, and it's just something that I basically, that chapter is more or less, sort of an overview and an introduction to the possibilities, more than some of the earlier chapters where I'm prescribing exact breaths, exact processes. That chapter is more of an overview to the possibilities. But
yeah, I want to let me
fun.
Yeah,
certainly fun to play with.
It's good. Yeah, and I'll I have to admit, back in the day, I wasn't familiar with this. Let's just say someone from my past, my ex-wife. Whenever she was like getting close, she would hold her breath. It was like a normal thing for her, and that whole breath holding, and it's like, in some cases I guess it's kind of like a strangulation too, or I don't know, not strangulation, or maybe, to that breath deprivation, if you will, took that whole moment to a new level.
Yeah.
And
But that
good
goes
soldier,
along with what he was saying with the
right,
breathing techniques that you can
yes,
use in order to get you to that next level.
yes.
Well,
And
in a way, but it would actually produce a very different kind of mental state, because earlier in the book we're talking about controlled breathing, deep breathing that will actually better oxygenate the blood and sort of, control the mind over a long period of time. Whereas with this kind of breath play or breath restriction, especially if someone else other than you is in control of it, it does bring on an altered state, and it might deepen the moment of orgasm, and certainly for many people deepens their pleasure. But there is, first of all, it's a different kind of mental state that's brought on by it, because it's the lack of breath rather than deepening of breath. But then there's also, I feel like we can't discuss it without throwing out the this is excessively dangerous warning that, anyone listening at home should be aware that there's a whole load of people that die every year from erotic asphyxiation, whether they're doing it to themselves or whether other people are doing it. David Carradine, for instance, is widely thought to have died of erotic asphyxiation. So, I always want to throw stuff like that out there, like, hey, if we're talking about blocking off people's breath, you should really know what you're doing there.
Yes,
Russ.
but holding your own breath is a different story.
Holding your breath is definitely different. But if we're
Tiffany,
discussing it within the context of BDSM, then we have this added element there where we're not just holding breath. We might be giving the impression that somebody is tied down and having their breath hold. So
that's never been impressive to me. That's very terrifying, actually. Yeah.
Not my cup of tea either, but
Tiffany, do you hold your breath? Do you hold your breath, dear?
Only before you ask a question.
That is so hot. Russ, are you a breath holder?
No, not me. I'm a little against the autoerotic asphyxiation. There's actually a band in Louisville called Eddie and the Fuck Monkeys that has a song called there's a brand new dance. It's sweeping the nation. It's called the autoerotic asphyxiation. They jam that out pretty hard. But
nice.
I have heard tell that some of the younger millennials are all about getting a little choked out every now and then while they're having their jollies.
It's a high.
Now, Jason, while I've got the fact that it's Tiffany, you couldn't have had a better night. You got three hot dudes with you on a Friday night. It's all good for you, Tiffany. But Jason, I need a commitment. You're gonna join Russ and I on a Monday night show. Got it? You got to do it.
Sure thing.
Just saying.
And
we'll bring Tiffany on for shits and giggles too. So it's kind of a payback. So. Tiffany, you were asking about the face fuck thing. You want to jump in on that?
I didn't mean you to say it like that.
You know what, this will be our probably first R-rated Friday night show, but hey, what the
goodness gracious. Okay, so we were trying to figure out how to ask the question about mutual oral sex. I didn't ask it. You asked it.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
So, okay, with the idea of that, what is a typical way of creating magic by doing that?
Well, hold on, Jason. Jason, hold on. Tiffany, what is Russ's magic way of creating? You mentioned it. What's it called?
He has the diamond cutter tongue.
What?
Yeah, we've heard about Russ's diamond cutter tongue. He calls it the diamond cutter. So why don't you tell us some of your techniques that are magical?
There's nothing magic. It's the only thing. I only have one technique. It's called the response technique. You keep doing different stuff until you get the response you want, but then you have to realize that that's going to, that particular move is going to wear out. So you got to anticipate when you got about, when your battery's about to die, you're about down to 10%. When the pleasure, is waning just a little bit down to 10%, then you got to switch it up to something similar, but not, not the same. And then, look for some more not microaggressions, micro responses to where you can tell, you kind of tell which way to drive the car. You kind of just got to be really in tune and use the response technique. You look for the responses, you don't wear it out, and then you keep switching it up until they, get a little freaky.
Is it Jason?
Okay,
is that a legit?
Jason, what do you think about that? Yeah. Is that legit?
Yeah, that sounds perfect. Lady, Russ, I don't know if it's ladies or men you're into, but either way, they sounds like they're lucky to have you, sir.
I get down on the little man in the boat, the little dude in the canoe, the hooded,
right on.
The hooded sailor.
I know the hooded sailor well.
So taking it to another level, let's talk about the mutual oral sex. Can you give us a little insight into that?
Like simultaneous?
Not Russ. Russ, stop for a minute.
Well, yeah.
Settle down, Russ.
Yeah, why not simultaneous? This is, first of all, if we're talking sex magic, where it's ideal for both people to have an orgasm at the same time, you can have a lot greater control that way. Someone can speed up, slow down, back off, etc., a little easier on the other person. Just a little more control. And you can rotate energy, as I described earlier, the same way through the central channel. You're just hooked up a little different. That's all. So yeah, there's not much more to it than that. There's not much more to it other than what you would find, in any sex magic, or just, sitting with somebody and having at it.
Okay, but the most important part is actually that you're consciously making a commitment to something higher, something more than just yourself, and something more than your significant other. It's you're elevating the situation with those juices and fluids and energies.
Well,
is that correct?
Yes, it depends on what you're doing. If you are doing it as a celebratory rite, if you're doing it as some way to honor the gods, then yeah, that's the case. If you're doing it purely as a way to rest in that moment of orgasm and sort of meditate within it, to feel what it's like to rest in the vastness of your own mind with your ego set aside, then the quality of the orgasm is the main thing that matters. And then if you're doing sorcery with it, in other words, like, you know, I'm going to cast a spell to find a job or empower this seal to help me, you know, help your friends have children, then it's the concentration upon that goal that matters. But concentrating on it without losing sight of the sexiness of it. You know, there's
Right.
a lot of unfortunate stuff that was written in the Victorian era where they talk about, you know, oh, one must not have any kind of sexual thought at all. It must all be higher level. One shouldn't allow oneself to engage your base passions. And, you know, I'm sorry, without engaging your base passions, sex is a little bad. So, you know, we want, you know, we don't want to have very saccharine but sacred sex. We want to have, you know, good sacred sex, and realize that there is no part. You know, the tantric view is not that there's a higher and a lower and whatnot. It's that sex is sacred, and the sacred is to be found within everything, and it is not separate from desire and so on. So there are
when you
certainly
talk
unhealthy
about
desires, but
yeah,
and
when
there
you
are
talk
ways
about sorry, go on.
I was going to say, well, you know, there are attachments and ways that desire can become very unhealthy or lead you away from spirituality. But you know, desire itself doesn't need to do that. So anyway.
So when we're getting into the idea of sex for evocation of spirits, now we've gone sort of like through the situation. We know what sex is. We know that there is a magic to it. But tell us a little bit about the process of evoking spirits through sex. First is purification, and then how do you go through this?
Whew. All right. So, you know, well, the evocation...
Talking to the mic, please.
Oh, sorry.
Mic.
I'm, you know, I'm trying to gather my thoughts. It's a little on the technical side, but what you're doing.
So what he's saying, Tiffany, it might be over your head.
It might be over my head.
No.
I'm still a young little girl here, so I'm still learning. So
she's pre-40.
Teach me,
so
teach
keep
me,
that in
tantric
mind.
master. Yes.
Oh God, no. I would not suggest it's over your head at all. It's not a little technical in that respect. More like describing it on a podcast. But essentially, what you're getting into is a ritual where things are set up in the temple to honor, to resonate with that spirit or that being, in much in the same way that, you know, a mass or any other ceremony is set up with symbolic resonance with that being. And you can also think of it as creating a habitat. You know, you wouldn't bring a fish into your house unless you had an aquarium where it could exist and breathe. So spiritual beings sort of need a habitat to manifest within. And this is, of course, symbolic. So if there are numbers, if there are scents, if there are colors that are sacred to that spirit, then those should be out in an abundance in the temple space. In this case, the temple space might be your bedroom because we're integrating sex into evocation. Then there are ritual calls of that being, and depending on what who the being is, then that will determine if we're talking about either a mantric chant or a long read evocation, much like any other kind of religious ceremony where you're calling upon this deity, please arrive, please show. You who have run your own podcast, you who excites Kevin, please appear here. So, in bodily form, that we may.
Oh man, I am going to be doing this. I'm going to be doing this later. It's not going to be with Kevin, but it's going to be,
bullshit.
Please, oh God, please bring me a better podcast. Wait.
What?
Just
A better
kidding.
podcast?
Well, you could invoke Mercury.
He was talking about invoking Mercury. He was talking about getting a better podcast. And I think that's what we should focus on here, Kevin. I think that you and I need to focus on quality, not quantity. As in everything.
Wow. Russ, I just got... Russ.
Kevin can do a sex magic.
Did you hear that, Russ? I just got fucking called out. I just got called out,
yes.
Russ. You're not listening.
Well, I mean...
Never mind.
Yeah, I'm listening, but I was just, I was thinking about all the millions of spirits that I emit on a daily basis. They only survive for about 3 to 5 minutes till they dry up, though.
Oh. Oh no. See, you're losing faith.
I kind of get the whole thing about having the correct environment or the correct vessel, because what I just read on the internet is if they go into the correct vessel, they can survive it for up to 5 days, which makes that a lot more spiritual of an experience.
Yeah. Human sacrifice.
Yeah.
Oh Jesus. Oh Jesus.
Oh Jesus.
It's like
oh Jesus.
Oh Jesus.
It's
a semen holocaust every time I get around. It's terrible.
Oh,
yeah,
oh God.
Russ. Here, check this out, Russ. Now Russ is an atheist. Yeah, Jason. And so Russ,
I also don't believe in what Kevin. I want to make this clear, because when I have to tell people I'm an atheist, I also feel like I should tell them I don't believe in leprechauns, unicorns,
aliens,
any of that stuff either. I do think that there's probably a teapot orbiting like Jupiter or something, but that's only because Bertrand Russell, mentioned it.
How about this, Russ? Fuck you when it comes to the paranormal thing. Okay, just saying. All right. So, anyways, now when you're with Mallory and she says, "Oh God," do you correct her?
No, because at that point, anytime she wants to, give me the moniker of what people consider to be some kind of, supreme being, I'll just go ahead and accept it.
Okay, enough said. All right. You could be quiet now. Back to Jason.
I think that's very cool. My response when people say I'll pray for you is, thank you. That's very kind. It's not what I want, but that's fine. Take your time out of your day.
I always tell them I'll think for you.
I'll think for you. Oh wow.
Yeah. If somebody prays for me, I'll think for them.
Let's bring in spectrophilia to this conversation, because Russ it'll just blow his mind. So let's talk about spectrophilia, please. I'm desperate for this all evening. I don't think so. Not really. We sort of hit on it for 1 second, but I would really like to talk about that along with
the record, Jason, Tiffany. Yeah, Tiffany's 1 second.
I might have been away for a moment.
Is 2 minutes to us guys. So just for the record. Anyways,
I may have been.
It was brief. It was brief. Yeah, let's go real quick. Go, Jason, if you don't mind. Go back to the whole succubus incubus thing.
Well, and then I also want to bring it into the whole idea of our ET issues, because we talk a lot about aliens and things like that. And so when we think about succubus, incubus, we think about also the alien interaction that has been happening for the past 50 years, and there is a connection. There is a connection. Tell us a little bit about the idea of spectrophilia, though.
All right. So spectrophilia is sexual attraction or sex with spiritual beings, ghosts, demons, elves, and so on. And this can range anywhere from... Right. So this can range anywhere from claims of people being visited in the night by incubi and succubi. Back in the medieval era, a lot of people think that this is actually just people explaining away nocturnal emissions. Other people have used it to explain mysterious pregnancies, but some other people believe that there's more to it, that they're unwanted spirits, demonic in nature, that come and sexually assault one in the middle of the night. But it's not always demonic in nature. Of course, there are many stories of fairies and spirit kidnapping human beings and establishing sex with them. And then, of course, we have the case of angels, where the Bible in Genesis 6 talks about human beings having sex with angels of the Lord, or angels of the Lord coming down and having sex with the daughters of men. And this all gets fleshed out more in the book of Enoch, where they describe the angels basically teaching man the first sciences, and not only sciences, but also cosmetics, and also all this other stuff in exchange for, sex with humans. So this can be thought of as something that happens, just sort of an experience that people have, much like UFO encounters or something like that. Or it can be thought of as a practice where people like Ida Craddock would invoke or call upon angels or spirits to have sex with. I'm thinking of how common it is that it appears in songs like "Ghost of a Texas Ladies Man" from Concrete Blonde. But actually, now that I think about it, Cher once claimed to have sex with a spirit. So there are, Kesha too, I think, claimed to have sex with spirits. So it's never happened to me. This is one of the areas in the book where I comment on something that I don't practice, but there are a lot of claims to it for sure.
Well, I think that it's very popular in alien lore as well. The idea that reproduction is part of the whole hybridization process with what's going on today. I think it does go back thousands of years. I mean, we've look at the Immaculate Conception of Christ, or there's been others, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, there's your most famous
throughout
example.
History. Most famous example, right? But not only that, Noah was also supposed to be born of an angelic being, and actually glowed upon birth. So maybe there are more of these stories out there than what would automatically come to mind. But some of them are biblical.
Yeah. And there is no shortage of people claiming to have sex with extraterrestrials. Elizabeth Clare. I'm not huge into ufology, so I don't know everyone. Susan Brown, I think, was a ufologist that claimed she was visited. So, it's out there.
I heard some.
And then, of course, if we consider sex as a way to get closer, or to understand or commune with another being, or to share essence with another being, then we have the basis of a fairly serious spiritual practice here.
What was you saying, Russ?
I was wondering if there's any cases of being people near Area 51 where they've claimed to have alien remains. If anybody has had any extraterrestrial spectrophilia experiences.
Why do you need to feel like that? Do you think that's funny, Russ?
Yes, I do.
Well, you can find it funny all you want, buddy.
Yeah, buddy.
No,
Russ, I want
it's
to
a serious
know.
question, though. It's a serious question.
No.
I mean,
Here's a serious question, Russ. Have you ever had some type of dream, or in this case, what people have described as an encounter with the succubus?
no, I mean, in all seriousness, though, I mean, it'd be neat to explore some of this type of stuff, but I feel like I would need, I've never done LSD, but I've had some really great minds. Sam Harris being one. No, I'm being serious. Sam Harris.
LSD?
There's been several historic figures that said that their life and their perspective on life completely changed after their first experience with LSD. And I'm a little scared of it, but probably some Saturday in the near future, I'm probably gonna get I got a friend that'll get it. The purest LSD 25 is what you're supposed to take, but you have some of the most spiritual experiences you'll ever have if you ever use that to
Russ,
open up your mind a little bit.
I am going to edit your conversation out of this show. Just saying.
That sounds good.
You know what's funny is I've had lots of sex dreams in my life, and I tell you, I could almost believe some of them were actually more physical than dream state. But it's one of those things that who doesn't want to have sex with some beautiful species, some beautiful human species in the middle of the night, no STDs, and just have some lovely little dream? What is wrong with that?
Oh, great.
Can you imagine alien STDs?
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, God. Let's not even worry about that part.
Why did you even go there, Tiffany?
God, what was I thinking? I'm sorry.
Their self-lubrication may be like acidic and melt our skin or some shit.
Oh, great. There goes your vagina, right?
Could be bad.
Wow. Now, Jason, have you had any succubus encounters?
Not I.
Really? Never?
What's a succubus?
Nothing. What?
What's a succubus?
Succubus, it literally means to lay under, so it was thought of as a female demon that would haunt men in the middle of the night and cause their nocturnal emissions. So no, as I said, this is one area of the book that I don't experiment heavily in, but I felt like it had to be covered. So that is mostly, not first-person experience I'm talking about there.
Okay, fair enough.
So no
Tiffany?
succubi for me.
Tiffany, same question.
Yes.
Not necessarily succubus, but any type of bus. Have you ever had what you deemed was,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah. And I tell you what, some of those experiences are way more physical than you could possibly imagine. Like waking up with, oh my God, I can't even say it. Waking up with an orgasm is probably one of those things that most people don't typically encounter on a morning basis or a daily basis. But there's obviously either your dreams are so strong that they push on through that physical barrier, or there's something maybe going on. I don't know. Maybe I'm super special. Maybe you're not.
Well,
What do you think about that?
Kevin,
Yes.
there's more for your spank bank there, buddy.
Spank bank.
Spank bank.
I looked up these
We got it.
Philias.
We got to get that trending. Spank bank. Yes.
There's a whole list of these paraphilias. I was unaware. There's like some. I found the worst one though. It's the absolute. It has to be the worst one. And it's like all sexual interest, and they talk about all these philias, but this one's called anthropophagolagnia. It's you can look it up on Wikipedia. It's just.
I'm not even sure what you just said.
I'm not sure either, but it's anthropophagolagnia. And this is, please Google it and look at Wikipedia of paraphilias and their whole list, the list of paraphilias. That word I just said is raping and then cannibalizing another person. People, apparently there was enough, and by the by, spectrophilia is not, for some reason, it's not on this list, but and it goes from A to Z, and it's got like 150 of them. I mean, I'm just letting you know. But so at least this one is I mean, it has enough popularity to have made this list, and that means there are people out there who fantasize about raping and then cannibalizing another person. That's disturbing.
Oh my
What
God.
the fuck?
Yeah,
Really?
I don't think that's part of the Sex, Sorcery, and Spirit book.
Is
or
it? Well,
comics, but
not
it's
his
the
book.
dark
very
side.
freaky.
That's the extreme.
It is a
Okay,
dark
side.
side.
Maybe not his book, but Jason, to add to Russ's, comment there, is it? I mean, are you familiar with those types of extremes?
Yeah, there's, no, not that
Okay.
extreme. No.
Right. Good.
Well, what is it? Rule 36. Like, if it exists, there's a porn for it. So
That's very true. Yeah.
there are people out there that do all kinds of things, but in that case, certainly there are some dark corners of the occult and whatnot, but generally speaking, no. That's not something I've come across. And as far as what I would be willing to write or advocate, anything that violates this consensual and sane and safe is off the table. So both in terms of rape and cannibalism, zero interest. If there's any kind of like BDSM or anything like that going on, people need to agree to all that kind of stuff ahead of time and make sure that no one's consent is violated. Because honestly, real sex magic only happens if people are enthused about it. Like, sometimes people have sex and, that maybe there's not rape per se, but there's also just like, fine, okay, I'll go along with it, kind of stuff. And that's not a sound foundation for any kind of spiritual practice or good sex. So yeah, no, definitely not.
Kevin, this might shock you, but I've actually experienced what something I would call sex magic and I use the term magic just for the sake of using it here. But
here we go.
This is not a wind up, I promise you. But Mallory and I had a couple of different experiences where we were so afterwards our breath was so taken and it's not something that we ever could recreate. It just every once in a while it was something that would happen where we would just sit there and say, oh my God, wow. We couldn't even talk about it. We were just like, wow. And then of course it was somewhat fleeting and we went on. But yeah, it was earlier on in the relationship, so some people could argue that it was instigated by the honeymoon period and the the newness and the freshness and the experimentation of things that we haven't done before. But I mean, I would get on board with that. But as the vernacular I use, I would stop way short of magic. I would call it a hyper, intense, somewhat. It almost at a point it almost feels like you're transcending yourself, like you're it's almost like an out of body experience for a second, but it's just, I mean, it's still a collection of neurons firing and causing the state of whatever's going on. As far as I'm concerned, I would never attribute it to anything else.
That's right, Russ. Come on over to the dark side.
Well, no, I mean, to run off with that. So, in terms of spirit, we have a lot of spiritual practices that are made to work from the mind down into the body, or the spirit down into the body. And with sex magic, it's really the reverse. It's starting with the body and working upward towards the mind and the spirit. So what Russ is really talking about is what would be the basis for then the sex magic to happen on. It sounds like a fantastic basis, a primordial experience that gets you outside of your own ego. It's that ego-shattering moment, that petite mort that we talked about at the beginning of the podcast. And what sex magic would do is give the tools to explore that deeper and find the dimension of that is not fundamentally different than the kind of transcendence that Sam Harris talks about through, in this case, both psychedelics and Dzogchen meditation, which Sam Harris is also a big fan of. So
it turned you on, Russ, when he says Sam Harris. I know it turns you. That turns Russ on.
He just became my favorite guest ever. Anybody that is into, has listened and studied to Sam Harris, whether they agree or not, I'm just impressed that they can go there. So yeah, that's the most impressive guest ever for sure.
Oh sure, I love Sam Harris. I don't have to agree with everything he says, but I do. I love Sam Harris. I have some disagreements with him on spirituality and others on politics, but it doesn't mean that he doesn't have clear reasons for his thinking, and it doesn't mean he's not an excellent thinker and seeing the value in certain spiritual practices because of their absolutely undeniable worth. So that's awesome. I love Sam for that. Now, what I will say is that, when you get down to, but we can see these things are caused by chemical changes in the body and things like this. So this is something that always comes up where people will hook yogis up or to an EKG or something like that and say, we have these readings and we can see that this person having this mystical experience is actually being caused by electrical activity in the brain doing this, or in the case of meditation, where meditation is flowing away from the parietal lobe, which controls the boundary of self and other, towards the frontal lobe, where making one hyper aware of this lack of boundary. So there's always people that will look to the brain and say, we can see the response, therefore that's the explanation. But that's really shallow thinking, because ultimately you can show somebody an apple and their brain has a response. You can show somebody a movie that they love, or a piece of art, or make them have sex and measure the brain change. It doesn't mean that they're not having sex. It doesn't mean that there is no apple. It doesn't mean that what caused that response is within the brain. But when it comes to matters of spirituality, critics often take the easy way out and say, we have a brain response, ergo we can dismiss it as brain response. So it's an interesting topic, and we're out of time, obviously, but it's not unworthy of looking closer at and having a good discussion about.
Right. Good. Couple of things as we're winding up the show, Jason. Tiffany, you sent me a link. You want me to play this song, right?
Yeah, I think that would be a fun. Do you want me to preface it?
All right, you preface it, yes.
All right. So there's this lady who has written a song. She's an older jazz singer, and she's written a song about having sex with aliens. And I would like to throw this in here. So, Kevin, are you going to play it?
Yeah.
Super cheesy.
I've never heard this, so first time for me.
She's a jazz singer.
Okay, I get this. So it is
to the music. Just get it.
An alien.
Just enjoy.
Okay.
Wondering what my fate would be. Someone from another place and time was always out there waiting just for me. I've got an alien this time with a cosmic line. Only he could break this curse.
Just snorted.
I've got an alien this time.
I heard it.
And he thinks that I'm the center of the
Center of his universe.
Tiffany, why did we have her? Why did we have?
You can turn it off, please.
Oh
Oh man!
nice.
I
That's the first time we've incorporated. we've incorporated a
I
soundbite
know.
like that. So yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, I always look at our guests at the, do they have a spiritual side? Do they have a supernatural side? And I think that our guest is in control of all of those things and understands them. But the alien sex is just, that's where it is. It's where
He's killed it tonight.
And what's even more rare for one of our guests is he has an intellectual side.
I know, isn't that great?
Russ.
Oh, geez.
God. All right, Jason, before we let you go, last little quick segment we do is called Round of Shots. It's a quick Q&A. I'm going to throw 6 questions at you. Have fun with it. Number 1, first concert you attended?
Dead Milkmen at City Gardens back in 1980 something or other.
I'm familiar with them. Wow, I like that.
City Gardens was this crappy little punk club that Jon Stewart used to be the bartender at.
Really? Oh, that's
yeah.
a good one. I like that. Jon Stewart, love Jon.
My friend Amy
number
wrote
2.
a book about it, got herself on The Daily Show.
Oh,
There you go. Awesome.
nice. Very cool. See, if we didn't do these types of quirky segments, we wouldn't get those kind of quirky answers. So, number 2,
awesome.
what was the last picture you took with your phone?
Ooh,
Hoping it stays in tune with the whole topic. But go ahead.
The last picture I took with my phone was actually of a tarot spread that I did this afternoon for a client. And I often take a photo of the spreads to send to them while we're talking so that they can see what the hell I'm talking about.
Oh, wow.
Awesome.
Okay, cool. Number 3, what is the weirdest scar you have and how did you get it?
Ooh. The weirdest scar I have is under my lip because at one point it went all the way up to my eyelid. It was from an operation I had when I was 12 to remove a part of my skull that was growing into my sinus passage.
Oh, my God.
Oh, wow. And you're okay now, I'm assuming?
All good. All good.
All good. All good.
It's
All right.
all good from all that sex magic he's been doing.
Magic. Number 4, what celebrity would you like to be stuck in an elevator with?
Oh, man, there are so many.
Tiffany?
I honestly don't know. I hadn't really thought about it.
You can say Tiffany.
I'm gonna say to be stuck in an elevator with. So this isn't like a celebrity exception where I'm having sex with the celebrity. So I'm gonna go ahead and say Kyle MacLachlan because I'm a huge Twin Peaks geek.
Kyle, wasn't he in that show called? It's like some number thing. It was shit. What was that? Damn it! It was kind of not the twin Kyle MacLachlan. It was kind of a type of I don't know, paranormal thing. It was this kind of a sci-fi thing. Never mind. Okay, never mind. We'll
Dune, maybe?
No, it was like a something. I'll have to Google that. All right. 5. What is a question you hate to answer?
Oh, I don't really know. I guess anything that relates too close to family that I try to keep a little bit of a wall up.
You know what? That's a good point because I noticed that because I asked the question about the wife and you kind of shut me down there, buddy.
Well, you know, she's got privacy concerns too.
I appreciate that. I don't know, Tiffany, if you caught that earlier. I can't remember the exact question I asked him, but yeah, he basically like, mind your own business, Kevin. All right, number 6. If you had access to a time machine, it can go anywhere in the past, living or pre-birth past, where would you go?
Ooh, I would probably travel back to. I'm gonna go with just back to maybe 1990 to give myself investment advice.
Wow, okay.
Smart thinking.
Very down to earth.
Yeah, down to earth. Yeah, there you go. Good one. All right.
If I could only make one trip, I mean, obviously I'd love to explore all space and time like Doctor Who, but if I could only do one trip.
Yeah, our budget only allows for one usage of the time machine per show. So
I still feel like my original one was good, Kevin. I still feel like my original one that I came up with was good.
Which would remind everybody.
Really? Right now? Okay.
Yeah, right now.
Yeah.
You go back right before the Romans are about to string up, Oh Jesus.
Oh yeah.
And you with an AK-47, you mow down the Romans and you look Jesus right in the eye and you say, "Now I'm your savior." Just like that. And then they would be writing books about me. Maybe. I mean, maybe there'd be a book about me. Who knows?
It would have to be.
Jason, he loves this story. He loves this rendition of the Bible. Yeah.
It's such a twist.
You would go down in history as the man who invented the Kalashnikov 2,000 years before.
That's very true.
So
Not only would you be
Yeah.
the savior of Christ, but you'd be rich, rich, rich.
All right. Okay. Since you mentioned Kalashnikov, this will be the coup de grace because that was kind of impressive that you know that too. What is the 12 gauge?
You mean that we all know it, Russ?
What is the 12 gauge version? What is the 12 gauge version of the Kalashnikov called? And what brand is that makes it?
You got me there.
It's called a Sega 12. There's actually a Kalashnikov version of a 12 gauge shotgun, and there's a guy on YouTube that just he plays like he called it the crazy Russian or something. He's not even Russian. He just does a Russian accent, and he takes this Kalashnikov shotgun and it's called an AA-12. The Russians have it like an AA-12, and it just absolutely obliterates everything. It's really cool. Anyway.
Now, I've got a good one for you. I'm very interested in the goddess Hecate. I run a whole course based on her, and of course, one of her appearances is in the Greek magical papyri, the Papyri Greciae Magicae. So, as I'm doing research over the years, I Google PGM for papyri. Usually scholars abbreviate it as PGM for the Papyri Greciae Magicae, and then Hecate, and I'm looking for the papyruses that she appears in, and found out that there's a French sniper rifle called the PGM Hecate 2. So there you go. There's your weird occult gun trivia of the night.
Cool.
There you go.
Russ, you were kind of impressed with our guest tonight. I think so.
Oh yeah.
I like that.
It's interesting. There's lots of smart people who believe in ghosts and spirits. I mean, I've ran into several.
My God. God.
All right. Jason came on and killed it. Jason Miller, writer, teacher, magic man. Tell us real quick before we let you go, all of your social media.
You can find me at strategicsorcery.net, or if you just Google Strategic Sorcery, you'll find the blog and course offerings and books, obviously. You can find my books. I've got 4 books out there through New Page. Find them at Barnes & Noble and out in Amazon. Protection and Reversal Magics, my first and probably most famous book, Sorcerer's Secrets, Financial Sorcery, and of course, Sex, Sorcery, and Spirit. But I also run the Strategic Sorcery course and a whole bunch of other occult goings on.
Nice.
So that's it.
Very cool.
StrategicSorcery.net. You'll find everything you need there.
Everything we need.
Thank you so much.
Everything we want. Yeah.
Do you?
Go ahead.
Well, except for toys. Well, you have to go somewhere else for those. But thank you so much for coming on tonight and sharing us your studies, and I will definitely post links to your website and things like that on our show. But thank you so much for coming on tonight and
Yes,
sharing your knowledge with us.
Thanks,
Awesome.
Jason.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciated it.
Jason, I'll be in touch because I think we got part 2 on a Monday night show with Russ and I. So stay tuned for that.
Sounds good.
2017.
Sounds.
All right, brother.
Yeah, 2017. Take care.
Yes. All right. Thanks.
Goodbye.
All right.
Lots of fun. Lots of
Yeah,
fun. This was a great
Jason
show.
Miller. Yeah, good show, fun show. Russ came on and did not offend the guest tonight,
I know,
which is
surprisingly.
a good
Thank
thing.
you.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Russ,
always.
for playing along.
It was pretty
Thanks,
interesting.
Russ.
Yeah, no, I thought it was pretty interesting.
It was good. Yeah.
All right. Just for the record, we do have Russ and I will be doing a Monday night show, which is today's this will be 11/21, November 21st. There will not be a Wednesday night show, which is Thanksgiving Eve, and there will not be a Friday night show, which is Thanksgiving after. So, Tiffany, you and I will be talking, I'm sure, between now and next week. But for Russ, Tiffany, myself, we wish everyone listening a very happy, safe, fun, good Thanksgiving with you and yours. Tiffany, do you all go out of town? What's going on with you guys?
We actually don't. Most of my family is here in Louisville, and the ones who aren't usually come to travel to our houses. So, yeah, we get to hang out. Of course, I have everybody spread out, so I usually have to. And I don't know. I usually have to travel like 3 houses, but that's so difficult to do when you have children now. I'm just like, are you kidding me? Can I just stay at one place, please? But no, you have to travel with your children. So
I know, yeah.
Fortunately,
same for me. Same for me. It's all local for me. Russ, do you go out of town? Russ dropped. All right, Russ is gone. So, anyways, Tiffany, great show tonight. Fun. It was a little different from our typical paranormal, but there was some paranormal type conversation, but it was good. It was fun show. So
different. Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
For my beautiful, significant Friday night other, Tiffany Mack, Kevin Hale, we wish everyone a good night and a pleasant weekend and happy Thanksgiving. Peace out, people. Good night.